Hey guys, welcome to a new video. Today I am joined... Don't look at me like that.
Look at me, don't look at the mic, because then you start doing announcer voice.
I'm sorry. What I was trying to say is that we're doing a challenge. It's called half and half.
Well, we did.
Well, yeah, we did do a challenge. Unfortunately, we tried to do commentating while we were doing... That's a bunch of motorcycles going by. We tried to do commentating while we were doing the challenge, but it didn't really work out. So, yeah, now we're trying to... Okay, do you want to just start over then, Felix?
No, this is conversation, Billy. This is natural.
Yeah,
This is the juicy bits
homegrown conversation.
Well, we are literally fucking doing it in the most country place possible, Billy.
Yeah, a little bit rural.
There's the fucking floral curtains out into the fucking bumfuzzle nowhere.
Yeah, that is an issue. But as I was trying to say, we're doing the half and half challenge, which is basically we're gonna be making half of a house each to a specific set of dimensions that was already predetermined. As you can see on screen, I'll be showing the little weird box we made.
Yeah, so we took this house, this awful, terrible, bad house. We cut it in half. We got a yard. We cut the yard in half, and we put them on either side of a massive stone wall.
Yeah, so we have no idea, well, we had no idea what the other was building, but the entire time we were sort of just chatting back and forth, working on our build, thinking we were gonna have audio that actually survived.
You know, talked about our process.
Yeah.
You know, had interesting things to say. Definitely didn't just stay quiet for about 30 minutes as we both built.
Just blank silences thinking, ah yes, editing will save me.
Turns out all those empty points were successfully removed thanks to bad audio quality.
Yeah, everything was removed thanks to bad audio quality except for the actual video. But yeah, so basically the theme was cabin, like wood. It was just basically something. It was just wooden house, basically something made of wood, like wood themed at least. It didn't have to be exclusively wood materials.
Yeah, but I was like, when we said that, I was sort of thinking like one of the villager houses, just to generally that sort of theme. Yeah,
the sort of simple, just mainly featuring wood. You wouldn't want to use anything fancy like quartz or really, you know, rustic kind of idea.
Like, don't build a castle or something.
Yeah, basically. So, what did you really like? What was your original concept? Your original idea? Like, what did you want to do?
I literally just looked at the house, said, okay, well, in every wooden house you put those vertical logs in the corners, just because that's a thing that I do, at least. I think that's
it's pretty standard. Well, it's, you know, it's like wood cabin, what do you think of? Logs, right?
But instead I took brown concrete. Because I was like, hey, this is in the creative menu, why not use this?
Yeah.
And when I did that, I did it all the way up to the top of the roof.
Yep.
Because I was just replacing the cobblestone pillar.
Okay.
But that's when I remembered that the flat roof up there was the maximum height.
Yeah.
So I started knocking down the walls to put a roof, but I left the brown posts.
Yep.
And while doing that, I thought, well, wouldn't it be sick if those went up like spikes almost?
Yep.
And there was a domed roof that sort of went up and connected to all that.
Yep.
So that's what I did for the roof.
Fair. You did something interesting with your wood detailing too. I saw you made it not just like the oak planks itself, but you also did spruce, wasn't it?
Yeah. Just because when I did it all oak, it was sort of gross looking.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like you really want to have that kind of variety in your build to not look like just a shapeless mass, because then you're not using shaders. You don't really have shadows to give depth and like interest, so you can't really rely on it. So, you know.
So, what was the first few steps you took in your build? Like, what did you start with?
I did it pretty basic. I'm not gonna lie. I did the oak oak logs in the corner. I did the oak logs in the corners. Good old classic stone block lining the bottom. I think I was starting out with cobblestone, but I've definitely quickly moved to stone brick because I wanted to spice it up a little bit. I was tempted to do my classic nether brick roof that I tend to do with the stone brick, but I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do log because, you know what? One of my brothers suggested, isn't it not structurally integral that there would need to be stone bricks holding up bricks?
That was not at all what I said.
I know, you didn't say that, but still, you implied it. It made me feel like a bad builder.
It was that a concave turning roof made out of bricks was pushing against itself.
Yeah.
And that was the only thing supporting it.
Yeah.
And architecturally, that can work if it's convex.
Yeah.
But it being concave would mean that at the middles it would collapse without support beams being between the two peaks of concavity.
Yeah, I feel it. It was more one of those aesthetic things I didn't really think about. And I'm just... You pointed it out and I was like, you know what, whatever. But yeah, I decided to actually go for a softer roof. Because originally I was going to actually do a pointy roof like that other roof I showed you. But I decided, I was like, you know what, I want to go for like a cozy cabin feel. So I kept the oak wood logs and I kept the oak wood planks for the walls, but I added spruce logs for the wood, like the wood of the roof, because I like having wood logs for the roofs, you know, because it adds that nice contrast because it's a darker shade. And then by making it spruce, it didn't blend in with the support beams. It was still its own distinct color, but it also was like a nice dark color. I'm actually surprised that our builds did have a kind of similar shape, really, because they both had the rounded roofs and the use of the oak wood and that kind of stuff. Although yours definitely,
mine was universally rounded.
Yeah, it was like mine was just like a little shack basically. It was just a rectangle, and yours had more shape to it. You had like that little stable off and stuff. Speaking of which, what was the story behind your build? Because I definitely feel like you had a idea in mind of what kind of people would live there, you know?
Yeah, I started off... The story started developing when I was knocking out the bottom cobblestone.
Yeah.
I thought, hey, wouldn't it be sick if I built something up on stilts?
Yeah.
And wooden cabins, wood sort of old... something like a guard post or a, you know, like,
yeah, like
a little checkpoint or something like that. And so I started building it up, but I built a door on the floor, which led it to more of a building that has part of it up on stilts rather than
exactly.
The
it's like
it.
The other half of the building could have just been the bottom, like the inside of the bottom.
So that made me think in the direction of a bandit shack or like a mercenary.
Yeah, actually,
outpost.
something funny about that. Whenever you mentioned you were making graves, and I think you said something about it being dungeony while we were doing the commentary. I actually had expected, even though it was supposed to be like wood themed, my first thought, my brain was like, yo, is he making like a dungeon out of stone brick and stuff? I'm like, I guess if he incorporated like a lot of wood into the build, I guess you could say it's wood themed. But like whenever we did the reveal, I was fully expecting like a dungeon with full like bookshelves and like cobwebs and stuff. Because I don't know why when you said those words and said gravestones and stuff, my brain immediately went to, oh, so he's building a dungeon or something, you know? But yeah, definitely.
Yeah, no, I said that while I was doing the redstone.
Okay.
And also I had these two double chests I made.
Yeah.
And I got a bunch of arrows in one and put some swords in the other.
Yeah, I had actually noticed that because I ended up looking in them.
Yeah, so I scattered them out because I thought, okay, we could just put a stack of arrows on the corner or fill it with stacks and stacks of arrows.
Yeah.
But I got lazy, so I didn't want to copy that many arrows, and so I just randomly spread them about.
And also, I feel like it looks more aesthetically pleasing that way. It's less, you know, it's just, you tend to see it in loot chests more often. It feels like that might be like a roguelike dungeon you might find or something, or like some kind of spawned-in structure, you know?
Yeah, actually, about that little armor stand I put in the corner pretty late into the build.
Yeah.
I was doing armor stand stuff. Initially, the armor stand was actually supposed to be for, it was like Lenny the Sneak, I think his name was.
Yeah, that gravestone.
It was supposed to be that a sword was stabbed into the ground.
Yeah.
So I was trying to get the armor stand's arm to hold the sword upside down and stab it into the ground.
Yep.
And then make it invisible.
Yep.
So to get armor stands to hold things, you have to get them to show their arms.
Yep.
Which is a command that probably on your screen filled your freaking text box.
Yeah, I was trying to build, and it was like, I'm trying to talk. Like, I was trying to, like, say stuff, because I was under the assumption we'd keep the audio, but I would be trying to say stuff, and then all of a sudden my screen would just be, vroom, just fucking text filling it up. And it's just like, okay, yep, that's the text box.
Yeah, because every time you change the properties of an entity, it shows all of the possible variables in the current state they're in. So even if you're just changing show arms to 1,
Yeah.
It's like, oh, this is all the positions of the limbs, this is whether or not it's visible, this is whether or not the base plate's showing.
Yeah.
And it creates that whole text dump into the chat log.
Yeah, one thing I actually hadn't noticed about your build early on was when I went in, I just like poked the button with my hand, but whenever I was reviewing the footage that you had taken, I actually realized you had this cool little setup where you could like shoot it with a bow and that would open the door and you could like dash inside kind of thing. And I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I had that idea, like that's what I was hoping to build it all the way up, like
Yeah.
near one of the windows, so you'd have to shoot up, and you couldn't just press it.
Yeah.
But after going through all the trouble to just get it diagonally up from the door,
Yeah.
I could have gotten the button higher, but it would have required me to put visible redstone
Yeah.
leading down.
That would have been annoying. That was the problem. We were in such a restraint. You couldn't have thick walls. You were basically stuck with what you had.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is one thing especially is the restraints on the size actually made me go a lot smaller than I normally do go in Chisel Bits, because normally with Chisel Bits I like to keep it sort of Minecraft proportional, you know, so I did still work locked to grid line, but I had like literally 2-bit thin walls, which I normally never do, but I wanted to have that depth so I could actually have that depth without having it be more blocks. I already had to shave it in so I could have my roof overhanging like I wanted.
Yeah, that is one thing I noticed about your build.
Yeah.
Is I would argue that your build was very, very compact.
Yep.
In the sense that you, at least I didn't get the impression that you built half a house.
I tried to build half a house because I had little. If I had built the rest of the house, I would have had that little. I made the stone slab to represent like a desk or a counter or something, and it would have gone onwards to maybe like a brewing station or a little bookshelf area. Like I built the bedroom half basically with also the little stove, because you know if you wanted to sleep at night, you could have your furnace going and warming the room.
It's just that I could have seen there being a wall where our houses merged.
Yeah, I could see that, because it was compact, because you had your basics, really. You had a bed, you had the crafting table, you had a furnace, everything else could have really been fluff. So I definitely can see what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. I tried to do those custom windows, which is actually really annoying, 'cause something about Chisel and Bits, I love them both, but one thing that's really annoying is if you place a structure down and then chisel anything within the block, even if it's by accident, because I was doing vines and stuff and I forgot they were in the block, you know? So when I chiseled those blocks, it basically broke the structure. So whenever I called you over to be like, hey, check out these functioning windows, you right-click them and nothing happens. It's like, great job, Billy. Nothing happened.
Well, they function in the sense that they are there, I guess.
They exist on this plane of dimension.
Like, I guess that would stop a silverfish from crawling through your window.
Yeah, so basically the way to fix that is you have to put a chiseled bit in the block again, so it basically breaks the structure completely and turns it back into chiseled bits, and then break the chiseled bits block and just rebuild the window, then use...
Little tile?
What?
You mean little tiles?
No, the Chisel and Bits blocks, because you use the Chisel and Bit to turn them into Chisel and Bits blocks, because before they're two little tile blocks, but they're basically broken, so you can't even break them with a regular right hand, so they're like glitched. So the way you de-glitch them is you place a little Chisel and Bits bit inside that block, so it converts back to Chisel and Bits, and then you break the block, and then you rebuild it out of Chisel and Bits, and the way you convert it into little tiles so you can place the structure within it without breaking it is you use basically the hammer and you just take a single piece out of it. I use plain so it doesn't break it up into weird pieces. So you just a single bit out of it and then you Control Z or whatever you have undo set to, and it'll undo it, but the block will still be converted into little tiles. So then you can just place the structure and you have no issue. As long as you don't chisel the block again, you'll be fine and it'll work like how it's intended.
Okay.
About the redstone, I remember you had that little trap door. Was that like an escape route, or were you like... Because I remember you said whenever we were doing the review, you were saying like it's escape route, or really, I guess you could shoot down it too, really.
Yeah, originally it was a defensive measure.
Yeah, I thought so.
That trapdoor was made back when it was it evolved from a defensive point to almost a place to come and stop.
Yeah.
So I initially had that trapdoor to open so that you could shoot down.
Yeah.
I did it with pressure plates actually to begin with.
Okay.
But I thought that had the risk of, if you were running around up there, you could step on it and fall through.
Yeah, that would be a bit unfortunate.
So I resolved to just go with the lever.
Fair enough. And it was above the stables too, so it really would work like a perfect escape route.
Yeah, I thought that it went like the bottom posts. I thought, hey, that would work as a place to sort of stop and rest.
Yeah.
You know, bring the horse in or whatever. So that trapdoor was there before it actually turned into a stable. I put up the fences.
Fair
I
enough.
actually changed the bottom floor. They used to be oak planks,
Yeah.
and I changed them into spruce.
Okay, that is cool. And I noticed you didn't put a horse in it, which is unfortunate. But it's also funny because I remember we tested it, didn't we? And the horse couldn't fit through the opening.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, though, is you did have just a fence that was there, so you could have just broke the fence and he could have got through fine. But yeah.
Yeah. You had that friggin' whole issue where the pool in your backyard kept freezing over.
Yeah, that was really annoying. That's the thing I didn't realize, because we made a flat world, right? But I didn't realize that by... I don't know what biome it was. I did the Tunneler's Overworld preset, and then I just removed the amount of stone in the world, and I got rid of the decorations like strongholds and stuff. And I guess it's a taiga biome or something, because my little pool in the backyard just froze over, so now I guess it's a skating rink or something. The little gardens don't make as much sense now, because like, how would you be growing those little gardens so well in the taiga, unless they're like, I guess, really good at being in cold environments.
Well, plants do grow in those areas. It's just normally this ground is covered in snow.
Yeah, it was like, I guess maybe it's summer in the taiga? Who knows?
Yeah, that would work.
Yeah. But speaking of detailing, what were some noteworthy bits of your build that were like, you know, maybe not easy to spot at first, that you just sort of like snuck in there?
One of the first bits of detailing I did, aside from the chests, I put an item frame on the inside of where the stables would now be.
Yep.
And I put a bow in there, so you could imagine someone rides in, they hop off, it's like, hey, it's me, what's his name? And the person that's in there watching over the stables is like, oh, hey, Steve, if that is your real name. And they could pull the bow out from underneath the counter, in a sense, and shoot the person.
Yeah, yes, I do remember seeing that, I think, at some point. Did you keep it? Because I remember you can see into the stable. You can see into the stable from that little room you come into to get upstairs. So you could technically shoot someone if they were trying to steal your horse or something, or even just bothering you. It does have its advantages as a build, you know?
Yeah.
Victories.
In the backyard, I put a training dummy.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I made one. I put little actual spruce fences around them to begin with, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
But then I thought of the cobblestone walls.
Yeah, I definitely do prefer that choice. I feel like spruce fences probably would have made it look a little too uniform.
Yeah, and they were just spruce posts to begin with. One in each corner.
Oh, so you didn't even have like a proper fence, it was just the posts.
Yeah. And I made one and I gave him little arms, thanks to the levers, and I was waving them around up and down.
Those little arms.
And I was immediately taken with him. So I decided that he needed a friend.
Yeah, you don't want him to be lonely.
So I started to make two of them, like facing each other.
Yeah.
But I thought, if they were that close together in that sort of 5x5 space,
Yeah.
you could only stand between them. So I just made a second one. But
Fair enough.
as I was building him, I accidentally placed the hay bale on the ground next to the post.
Yeah.
So I thought, how funny would it be if this little guy was like on the ground, and because the way the arms are levers, he'd be arms on the ground. So that's what I did, is I put his torso a little ways away from the post, like he was struck down.
Poor dude. For detailing that, I definitely, that's the thing with Chisel Bits, is I actually was building, well, I was, like, actually building the build. That's the thing, is you were messing around with, like, complicated well, not redstone, but whatever that command stuff was, your little armor stands. You were messing around with that stuff,
Yeah,
filling my chat up.
During the recording, I opened up Google, so we have footage of that.
Nice. But, yeah, I was... With Chisel and Bits, you can do so much intricate detailing. Like, I could have gone for, like, another 3 hours just detailing. I tried to restrict myself, you know, like, okay, you can add some vines, but, you know, don't, like, add little delicate flowers all over the place and make little vines. Just add some simple vinage. And, like, I tell myself, like, alright, we're just gonna make these walls, right? And then, like, oh, but, you know, it'd be cool if I, like, took away 2 little bits from the side to make it have depth inside as well. And then it would just spiral. It's like, oh, let's surround the windows with stone brick, and let's make these little opening windows. I wanted to do a little tiles door as well, but I was like, you know what, I've been running past the time pretty far now, so I should probably just throw a friggin' pine one on it and just say that's good, you know?
Yeah, on the other hand, I didn't take advantage of Chisel and Bits or little tiles at all.
Yeah, you didn't even touch it. I was like, oh, you know. I mean, if it ever floats your boat, I guess, because it would have taken... That's the thing about those mods, is they're tedious. They take a long time to do the detailing. So you're essentially just building on a smaller scale, so you have to click just as much, if not more.
Yeah, but it would have worked in some places. Like, I could have made actual gravestones.
Yeah, you could have made functioning gravestones. If you wanted to, you could have made, like, actual...
not functioning, just...
Well, I don't mean functioning, but
I made cobblestone posts with signs on them.
Yeah, you could have made, like, gravestones with, like, the words carved into them, you know? You could have done whatever you wanted. But that's the thing, is it would have taken ages, so you were able to focus on cooler redstone and armor stand stuff because you traded off not doing that really tedious chiseling bits.
And I still finished. I literally lied down and had a nap while you were still building.
Yeah. And I sort of just finished it off. And it was like, hey, it's done. Pasted them together.
Yeah.
It definitely looked interesting when it was pasted together. Like,
I found it. I think one of the biggest reasons why it didn't quite work is because I was expecting you to have one of those pointy roofs.
Yeah.
Or at least to take full advantage of your roof space.
Yeah, I didn't end up doing that.
Yeah, it was like only half the height that we had.
I was going for Cozy Cottage, man. It was Cozy Cottage. It was definitely smaller than I'm used to doing, though. It was... Although I feel like it did work in a weird way. Like, it didn't work, but it also kind of did. Like, it wasn't outrageously different. Because...
Structurally, it was compromised, but I imagine we could merge those builds together without too much... Like, technically, we would have problems, but...
Yeah.
Like, thematic-wise, you could see those two buildings.
Yeah. It would just basically take doing a remake of both of them to make them merge more, you know?
Yeah, like, incorporating any stone into mine, or...
Yeah.
Because it would have almost been in, like, if we took advantage of that second floor space that you had.
Yep.
Changed your lower level into, like, more of a bar area. We could have a little cozy upstairs.
Yeah, it could even be like a bandit saloon or something, because it'd have like their little defensive position with the stable and stuff, and then they have their friggin' tavern. They get drunken and stuff and party.
Yeah.
It's definitely a cool idea. But yeah, I think that covers pretty much everything. Is there anything else that you find noteworthy to mention about your build?
I have serious respect for anybody who knows how to do command blocks or anything like any fancy commands.
Yeah, same. I discovered just the simple command of how to click a button on a command block and make it teleport you to a specific location so you can make pictures from the same angle every time. And just figuring that out made me feel like friggin' Da Vinci or something, because I was like, oh my god, I finally figured it out. And it's just a single command. Like, some people make whole maps out of this stuff, and it's just wild what they can do.
Yeah, like some map makers, you have them having the armor stands be invisible and zero gravity and positioned in a certain way. Because during one of my builds, I tried to make an armor stand lying down.
Yep.
And I have minimal experience in a like 3D Minecraft animation software.
Yep.
So I tried to make them lie down by bending them at the torso.
Yeah.
But what that actually did is it just stayed connected at the middle point. The limbs disconnected and it just turned 90 degrees. So they had somehow made the entire armor stand levitate in the air, turned a certain direction, invisible arms holding an item, just to make something appear on a table, like in Diversity 3.
Yeah.
How they had that book in the puzzle section that you pick up.
Yeah, they had a lot of stuff that was wild. Diversity 3, it's like you look at that, it's like, how is that not modded? Like, that's actually possible in vanilla Minecraft? But it is.
Yeah, that is just maps nowadays.
Yeah, it's wild what they can do. It's like mad respect for that. But yeah, so I guess I'd say that's it.
Yeah, smash that subscribe button.
Smash it, smash, and like this video. Don't smash the video, please. But yeah, thanks for joining us. I hope you enjoyed, and yeah, stay safe.